This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Just kidding. Do I look like a fucking gamer? Fuck that shit. I don't even play games on my phone. No thanks to you. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more. What's up, fuckheads and fornicators? Cesar, your fearless leader, and well, my coverage of Star Wars Legacy continues. I know a lot of you fucking shills will say this is not canon and Legend doesn't count, but let's be real here. Disney fucked it up by getting rid of the expanded universe and making their
bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit. Mary Sue propaganda. But why? BlackRock and the ESG.
Nag, 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 nag.
This would be Volume 6. But we're gonna take a sidestep due to the fact that Volume 6 is a part of a big crossover that Dark Horse did with Star Wars, thought up by a genius in his own right, Chris motherfucking Warner, who, if you didn't know from this interview right here.
Well, and the story, how that went, because it's a pretty quick story.
Go ahead.
Kind of early on, after we'd been doing some aliens in the first Predator series, we'd been approached, I think it was by DC, and DC wanted to talk about doing some crossovers. And at the time, I mean, now everything's been crossed over a million times, but at the time, they just seemed kind of like weird fits, because the things that they had, I don't remember what they had recommended. It wasn't like Batman or Superman at the time. So it was kind of like, it just didn't seem like good fits. And so we were kind of trying to scratch our heads of coming back with some other offer of like, and then literally I went to the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom and I'm going like, wait a minute, Aliens and Predator are both Fox. So I came in back in the meeting. I said, "Why don't we just Aliens versus Predator?"
And they're like,
so
"That was you? That is the best goddamn idea I've ever heard."
Yeah, like everybody's just going like,
yes, he's the reason why there was the whole AVP thing from Dark Horse.
Shut up and get to the point.
I'm gonna do something that's even bigger than that as a side quest called Star Wars Vector.
I don't know why it's called Vector. It should be basically called The Tragedy of Celeste Morne. And that's our hero, Celeste motherfucking Morne, who is tasked to retrieve a talisman by Karnus Mirror, who is basically around during the old ancient days of the Sith War. So, like, you know, thousands of years before that. Yeah.
And no, I'm not going to be doing any Tales of the Jedi shit because, well, I spent enough money on this shit. And here's Mojo Cop to give us the gist of that.
Star Wars Vector is a comic storyline released by Dark Horse Comics in 2008. It included with the writers John Ostrander and John Jackson Miller and covers a single character's journey through the continuities of Knights of the Old Republic, Dark Times, Rebellion, and Legacy.
Everybody got that?
Before we continue, let's get to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Just kidding. Fuck that shit. I mean, seriously. Fuck these mobile game freemium bullshit. I think South Park pointed out here.
The truth is, a very small percentage of people who download freemium games ever pay anything for them. It's all about finding the heaviest users and extracting the most amount of cash from them. That's how you get addicts to pay $200 for a game that's not even worth 40 cents.
Yeah, no thanks to you. And
when a terrible vision reaching more than 4,000 years into the future alerts the secret Jedi Covenant to the importance of Taurus, they activate an operative already on the planet, overrun by Mandalorians. There in the deeply undercity, a monstrous ancient threat is unleashed that plunges Zane Carrick, the Padawan accused of killing his fellow students, into an adventure which will eventually span 4,000 years and involve Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and the principal characters of Legacy.
so there's this whole thing about this talisman.
The ancient threat in question was the Mirror Talisman, created by Karnus Mirror, a Sith Lord, and had the power to infect all non-Force sensitive beings with the Rak Ghoul plague.
Basically like Deadite.
Like, once you get bitten by them, you're like these zombies, but like you kind of keep the skills that you've had, but your mindless drones to whoever wants the talisman, right?
So our heroine, Celeste Morne, has to find it so it won't land in the enemy hands. And her whole vow is to destroy the Sith, like every other Jedi, you know? And she ends up on this ice planet where a lot of people retreat while the Mandalorians are fucking like invading.
So this planet's kind of fucked, you know, because they got like a Mando invasion, you know, and this is back, you know, in Mando's, before like, we have the Mandalorian, we have any sympathy for the culture when it was still depicted as them being douchebags, right? And also these, you know, Deadites fucking come in, so I feel sorry for anybody on that planet, right?
Our heroine goes there, runs into a runaway Jedi named Zane Carrick, who is basically, he ran away from the Jedi temple because, see, he supposedly killed other Padawans. In reality, it's no, his master did it because they thought, you know, similar to what happened with Kylo Ren, how his Jedi master thought he was prophesied to be evil and tried to kill him, type of shit, and then blamed it on him. Yeah.
Another thing that sequel trilogy got from the...
So he's a runaway with his little like sidekick named Griff, who's Ferengi type, all about profit. And long story short, fucking the douchebag Mandalorian guy doesn't know how to use the talisman. It grafts onto Celeste, and she learns everything about
The
it.
talisman also carried Mir's spirit, which tries to take over the mind of any Force user who wore it. And though her controls the Rakghouls.
End of the first chapter, or that's the old Republic story. Cassius fed because he knows how dangerous the Card ghouls or Deadites are, and how bad the virus is because it's uncurable and just turns everybody into mindless, zombie monsters who can fire guns. He nukes the planet, and in turn, that is why Celeste was frozen or was in suspended animation, other than doing that Sith casket for 4,000 years, because no one can get to it because the place was just nuked to oblivion and they thought she was gone.
So the sarcophagus was rediscovered by a crew of the Humili and was fought over by several factions. Celeste Morne was reanimated on a lifeless moon. She briefly found Darth Vader while resisting the control of Mir's spirit. Darth Vader was forced to retreat when the Rakghoul plague started to consume his men. Morne was left stranded with only her mindless Rakghoul.
The next one takes place 6 months after Episode 3, after Revenge of the Sith, where Darth Vader and whatever's left of the clone army are doing their typical rounds, and Vader's on the quest to find that talisman because he found out about Celeste Morne to be his apprentice to fight the Emperor. Kind of similar to what they did in Force Unleashed, right? And, well, it's a very simple story. Vader meets Celeste, and Celeste realizes he's a Sith, and she fights him and gets her ass handed to her. And, of course, Mir's ghost is like, going to get killed by him. You'll finally be free. Vader also realizes that he just traded one master for another. Celeste gets stranded on a moon, and that's the end of Volume 1. Then we get the first half of Volume 2. And
years later, Vader led the rebels into a trap by leaking information that the moon Morne was left on was the home of an Imperial secret weapon.
Right after A New Hope and before Empire Strikes Back, when Luke and Leia don't know their sibling or that Vader's their dad, getting ready, and they find the weapon. They meet up with Celeste again on the moon, and trouble happens. Han Solo and Chewie save their asses, because this is back when Luke still didn't really know how to use the Force that well, because he doesn't have Obi-Wan. And Vader's still on the hunt to find him. Celeste is about to be free from it, and then she realizes, nah. She ends up on a Star Destroyer and now has access to a Star Destroyer that kills everybody on the ship and turns them all into Deadites. And then the final chapter, and the reason why I read all this shit in the first place, Chapter 4, Star Wars Legacy. And, well, it's a really good conclusion, and it was technically worth reading the other 3 chapters to get to this.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Well, it continues off from Book 5, where Cade wants to assassinate Darth Krayt, and while they're en route to go to Coruscant to fight the Sith Empire, they get caught in a tractor beam by an abandoned Star Destroyer, and of course who's on board? Celeste and her little Deadites. They're a cross between the Deadites and Xenomorphs. They're fucking Deadites, so they get captured by the Deadites, and they form their own alliance because Celeste wants to get rid of her whole curse that she's been dealing with for 4,100 years. And Kate gets bit by one of the Deadites, but because of his super healing abilities, it doesn't really affect him, but his new girlfriend Aslan gets bit and he heals her with his powers. And because he's a force between dark and light, he's actually worthy to do all this stuff. But in the meantime, they run into some Sith. Meanwhile, Emperor Rome's plan wants the fucking talisman, but it's some fucked up shit there. The Jedi don't want that. The final battle, Celeste and Cade fuck up a bunch of Sith, and they finally defeat Krayt, right? But Krayt hasn't died yet. But his right-hand man, Darth Warlock, basically kills fucking Krayt so that the Sith will be run by Warlock and their own little council. And to be continued. And also, Celeste finally dies. They destroy the talisman, and that long, epic story over. So, yeah. Oh, and Aslan gets injured. And also, Blue gives what's called hall pass to Aslan because at least she's not Darth Talon. And that's it. All in all, it was a good read. It'll never be made into a movie or a TV show. They won't borrow from any of it because we all know how Disney sucks. And that was Star Wars Vector. This was a short review, but it was a very easy read. I highly recommend reading it. You'll probably get it. If you want to get it now, getting things on eBay. I would recommend getting. The individual graphic novels. It's only 2 of them, 2 short ones, easy read on eBay. But if you have to get the Marvel version that the reprints of, yeah, Yeah, get the Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Legacy. Cade's the shit. Crate's awesome as a villain. There you go. Peace out. Fuck you. Fuck Disney. It's all about Star Wars Legends. Canon can suck my balls. I'd go into detail, but I'm just basically just trolling all of you anyway. So, whatever. I'd say special thanks to people, but I gotta go on Sub Pals and YT Pals just to try to get 100 views on here because the algorithm could suck. Coming soon. Oh, I'm doing a deep, insane, deep dive into the entire lore of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Because if you didn't know this, back in 2012, I tried to start a disaster area tribute band.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy notes that a disaster area, the plutonium rock band, the Galactica mine zones, is generally held to be not only the loudest rock band in the galaxy, but in fact the loudest noise of any kind at all. Oh yeah!
I almost have a full collection of Star Wars Legacy, from Dark Horse Comics, when Star Wars comics were good. And my favorite character, Cade Skywalker. I also got the Predator Omnibus by Dark Horse Comics, because fuck Disney, fuck Marvel. That lore is badass. They actually gave the lore to Predator, in Dark Horse Comics. I also got Axe Cop and a bunch of other things, so stay tuned on that shit.
Plus the fucking message is bomb.com.
Chaos is a ladder.
Shout out to our patrons. In order of importance, the Shadow Vessel, the Fly Attractor, Janitor Jake, Count Morivond, Gary Mossberg, and of course Ryan Zacher. If you have any opinions on what I'm saying, like and comment. Just say some shit in the comments. I need more hate mail anyway, because apparently the only way I actually get views is when I piss people off.
The universe is there to help us. It's not a fucking miracle worker.
And only by admitting what we are can we get what we want.